זכויותיו. חנון ורחום אדוני, חנון ורחום אדוני, חנון ורחום אדוני, זכר עשה לנפלאותיו. חנון ורחום אדוני, חנון ורחום אדוני, חנון ורחום אדוני, זכר עשה לנפלאותיו. חנון ורחום אדוני. עשרי שלם את אדוני במצוותיו, חפץ מאוד גיבור מארץ יהיה זרעון, דור ישרים מבורך ומעושר בביתו וצדקתו עומדת לעד. זרח בחושך אור לישרים, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, זרח בחושך אור לישרים, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, זרח בחושך אור לישרים, חנון ורחום וצדיק. חנון ורחום וצדיק, זרח בחושך אור לישרים, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, זרח בחושך אור לישרים, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, זרח בחושך אור לישרים, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, חנון ורחום וצדיק, זרח בחושך אור לישרים, חנון ורחום וצדיק. נריע לצור אישנו, לכו נרננה לאדוני, נריע לצור אישנו, לכו נרננה לאדוני, נריע לצור אישנו, לכו נרננה לאדוני, נריע לצור אישנו. נגד מפנה בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו, כי אל גדול אדוני. בפנה בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו, כי אל גדול אדוני. בדרך כלי הארץ ותועפות הרים לו, בדרך כלי הארץ ותועפות הרים לו, בדרך כלי הארץ ותועפות הרים לו, בדרך כלי הארץ ותועפות הרים לו. נגד מפנה בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו, כי אל גדול אדוני. נגד מפנה בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו, כי אל גדול אדוני. ויבשת ידיו יצרו, לא הים והוא עשהו, ויבשת ידיו יצרו, לא הים והוא עשהו, ויבש את ידיו יצרו, לא ימדו עשהו, ויבש את ידיו יצרו, לגמה פניו בתונם, הסביר אותה ריאלון, כי הם גדול אדוני. ולגמה פניו בתונם, הסביר אותה ריאלון, כי הם גדול אדוני. לפניו, שתחווה וניחה, אני בך לפניו עושנו, שתחווה וניחה, אני בך לפניו עושנו, לגדמה פניו בתונם, בזמירות נרי אלון, כי אל גדול אדוני. לגדמה פניו בתונם, בזמירות נרי אלון, כי אל גדול אדוני.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. So glad to have you all with us. My name is Laura Steckler, and I am a very proud board member of the Miami-Dade chapter of JNF. Happy to be hosting with my wonderful, wonderful co-host and chair of this event, Maya Aron. Maya, great to be with you today. I am a financial planner with Steckler Wealth Management Group of Raymond James and Associates here in Miami. And my team and I help successful individuals and families achieve their financial goals, which are ultimately their life goals. And I am thrilled to be here today with you all. And you are in for such a treat because we have a wonderful lineup of interesting and dynamic women here for our national WFI event. I'm so proud to be here with our South Florida members. WFI has thousands and thousands of members across the organization, and we're very glad that you're with us, as well as wanting to extend a warm welcome to all of our guests.
Laura, thank you for that wonderful introduction. My name is Maya Aron. I am on the executive committee of Women for Israel, and I also serve as the president of the Miami-Dade chapter of JNF USA. When I'm not doing JNF work, I am a commercial litigator and partner at Marks, Migdal & Hayden, where I work on complex commercial cases. Today, you're going to hear from a wonderful panel of strong women. We are very excited to put this event together for you. We have been hosting events virtually, and we look forward to getting back to in-person events soon.
And Maya, just jumping in, I think your law practice I don't want to, say this if your law partners are listening, but it is a second almost to all of your dedication and how many hours you tirelessly dedicate to the organization. So thank you. It's incredible what you do for us. Maya and I were so happy to be a part of this event because we've historically been very passionate about not only being a part of JNF, but being a part of WFI, Women for Israel, as professional women. And regardless of whatever a woman's role is, whether they're working in the home or out of the home, we strongly believe that empowered women empower women. And the bottom line is that amazing things happen when women support women. And that's a general statement. And then if we distill that down to the Jewish woman, to Jewish women who are connected, not only in their home, but out of their home, and love and support Israel. And so Women for Israel is really about having a strong, incredible group of women come together surrounding a shared mission to help the land and the people of Israel.
Beautifully said, Laura. Women for Israel, we not just only raise funds to build projects in Israel, but we build them. One example is a colony in the Arava, which is on the border with Jordan, called Sukim, where there was only sand before. Now there's a neighborhood with children, with schools, and with markets, all built by Women for Israel. So, Laura, tell me, why did you get involved with Jewish National Fund?
I was at home one day and I received JNF's magazine, Biyachad, and I was blown away with some of the featured articles and stories highlighting a bunch of different projects and initiatives going on the ground in Israel. And I had no idea. I mean, I always knew about, the, historic and famous blue boxes, the tzedakah boxes. And I knew that JNF planted trees, but I didn't really know the depth and the breadth of the programming and support that JNF provided to the land and people of Israel. And so it was really reading that magazine that one night, and I said to myself, maybe I should get more involved. And before you knew it, I was on the board. And let me tell you, it has been an eye-opening, incredible experience for me. Very, very excited to say that I will be attending National Conference in Israel in October. And I'm looking forward to not just sitting in meetings and working on events here locally and nationally, but to seeing boots on the ground, how our dollars are being put to work in so many ways in Israel. So how about you just jumping in? I mean, you're so deeply involved. How did you get involved in Israel and in JNF on behalf of Israel? And what are you most passionate about? Is there one aspect of the organization or of your work that really sort of charges you up?
So I got involved with JNF 7 years ago. I came in through young leadership, and then as I aged, I progressed to the main board. I love what JNF does, and I've been on a couple of missions with JNF to Israel, and to see everything we do. So, like you said, Laura, it's not just trees. It's hospitals, it's roads, it's water cleaning, Zionist advocacy, which is more important than ever now. Um, it's agriculture and research and development. JNF does it all, and JNF is present on every day's Israelis' lives. I have a deep commitment to helping the state of Israel. I think we're all responsible for one another, and JNF allows me to have that voice in Israel. And now we have our panel with JNF affiliates led by our very own Laura Steckler. Please enjoy.
I am so happy to be moderating and introducing you to the incredible panel that we have today. I think we're going to have some really wonderful discussions, and I'm so pleased that you're all with us. With that, I would love to get started, and I would love to introduce our three panelists today: Dorit Friedman, Michal Shiloach Galnur, and Tamar Gil. Thank you so much for being with us. I'd love to share a little bit about each of your background first, and then maybe just sort of, throw some questions out there and have our audience just get to know you all a little bit personally, as well as the incredible work that you're doing as a JNF USA affiliate. So I'd like to now introduce Dorit Friedman. Since joining the founding team of Nefesh B'Nefesh, Dorit Friedman has played a key role in revolutionizing immigration to Israel, increasing the retention of North American Olim from 40 to 90%. Incredible. As director of the pre-Aliyah department, she has overseen the Aliyah of 25,000 individuals and managed $45 million in grants. As Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Development, she developed signature Nefesh B'Nefesh initiatives, including the Lone Soldier Program, Frontier Physicians, and Go South and Go North initiatives, all of which address Israel's core national needs. Dorit is a seasoned speaker who inspires countless individuals to support the greatest Jewish project of our times, the return of a people to its historic homeland. Thank you for being with us, Dorit.
Thank you for inviting me.
Our pleasure, truly. I'd now love to introduce Michal Shiloach Galnur. As CEO of Western Galilee Now, WGN, a small business consortium, Michal is responsible for the rich and productive partnership between WGN and Jewish National Fund. Overseeing a consortium of small tourism operators and artisanal businesses, Michal promotes awareness and appreciation for the Western Galilee's region's amazing boutique wines, beers, food, produce, and art, as well as the area's cultural diversity, historic traditions, and scenic routes, making an economical change in the region where tourism takes care of the employment of 40% of the population. Welcome, Michal.
Thank you very much.
And last but not least, our third incredible panelist is Tamar Gil. As Deputy Director for Eretz Ir, Tamar Gil promotes community resilience in Israel's Galilee region and Negev Desert by encouraging civic activism and the creation of businesses that have a social impact. Gil leads the partnership between Eretz Ir and Jewish National Fund USA's Louder Employment Center, which provides comprehensive career services, guidance, and resources to college alumni and the general Negev population. The center serves over 300 employers and creates meaningful networks to assist in reducing the tech sector's reliance on the overcrowded and overpriced Tel Aviv metropolitan area. Following the success of the Negev's Louder Employment Center, Gil is leading the replication of the model in Israel's north. Gil previously completed an extended service in the Israeli Air Force as commander of air picture operators. Thank you for protecting Israel, our homeland, our Jewish homeland, and thank you for being with us today, Tamar.
Thank you, Laura. It's great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about the organizations that you work for and your roles. And, you know, it's sort of a big question, but I'm interested to hear about any lessons, right? I mean, any lessons that, you know, you can take away that you may want to share with some people who are watching today. So feel free, anyone jump in. A little bit about the organizations, your roles, and any lessons.
I will focus not on Eretz Ir, the nonprofit, but rather on our largest program that has to do with employment development, and that is the Louder Employment Center, which we were chosen to run on behalf of Jewish National Fund. The Louder Employment Center was established in 2015 in order to make sure that more young academics would stay in the Negev following graduation. At the time, only between 2 and 5% of Ben Gurion University graduates stayed in the Negev following graduation. They all found a job, just not in the Negev. And a lot of the times what we heard when we were researching at the beginning of our work as the reason was they didn't think that there were enough career opportunities for them. And at the same time, we were talking, we were mapping, we were building connections in a network of the leading companies in the Negev who were telling us that there aren't enough young adults to work for them and that they can't find the good human capital. And so we really understood that the first thing that the Louder Employment Center needs to do is build bridges and connect and network between all of the players around, and coming with the name of Jewish National Fund. And I think also the fact that we are a women-led organization allowed us to look at building connections, holistic approaches, collaborative approaches, putting the egos aside and getting everyone to work together instead of competing with each other on human capital or on finding a job. So the Louder Employment Center has been focusing on working with employers, building the capacity of human resource directors of the biggest companies in the Negev, Dell and Intel and Wix and more, and SodaStream and ICL, Israel Chemicals, and dozens more. We have a network of human resource directors that we've been running for the past 5 years. We're also building the relationships with the colleges. There are, in addition to Ben Gurion University, our partner at the Law Employment Center, 6 other colleges in the region, and we are helping all of them to understand better what the field needs, what the industry and the high tech need from their students, and then be able to help their students through career workshops, writing CV, getting ready for interviews, and also sometimes adjusting the syllabus for a certain course in order to make it easier for the graduates to go into a job, a position for a company. And lastly, we also work with the young adults looking for a job, helping them look for it, apply for it, get it. And then also we are offering an internship program. I know that you guys in America are smarter than us in this. You have internships. And the reason that it's smart is that it is the foot in the door for any young adult looking for a job. And in Israel, you barely have them. And so a lot of people graduating from Negev colleges can't get a job because they don't have experience, but they will never have experience if they can't get a job. And so the Law Employment Center has established the internship program for engineers, and we are funding the first 2 months right after school for best engineering students, while the employers that we place them at have to give them mentoring and on-job training. And the success is incredible. Over 90% of our graduates get a full-time job offer at the end of the internship. And this is the key. Get them to stay in the Negev straight out of school, because the minute that they leave to Tel Aviv, they won't come back. We are also working in the Galilee, trying to get more talented senior high-tech people to move back from the center of the country to all of the high-tech, food tech, agri-tech companies that are moving to the north. And that is our focus right now. And we are also working since COVID hit with businesses, small businesses in the Negev and the Galilee, helping them overcome the difficulties of being a small business in these remote areas, helping them sell more online by subsidizing the cost of campaigns and professionals that can help them run the online markets, and also reducing the shipping prices for these small businesses. They, a lot of times, have a problem competing with businesses in the center of Israel, because shipping costs in the Negev and in the Galilee are 30% higher for them. And so what we're doing is we're actually subsidizing this, bringing the costs down. And this is an initiative, establishing the Small Business Association was an initiative of Jewish National Fund. And we were able to also recruit the government, the Ministry of Economy, to match dollar for dollar what the JNF is giving. We're very proud of that.
Great. Dorit, tell us a little bit about Nefesh B'Nefesh. I know you gave a little bit in your intro, but a little bit about Nefesh B'Nefesh and your role and any lessons that you've learned in the midst of doing your important work.
First of all, let me explain what the word Nefesh B'Nefesh means. It means soul to soul. And really, Israel speaks to all of our souls. It sparks something in us when we come, and we feel this sense of belonging, this sense of coming home. And I'll actually refer to you, Laura, what you just said before. When women empower women, there's amazing change. When we empower Olim, Israel is empowered, because from its earliest history, this country was built by immigrants, right? Not just brick by brick, but also soul by soul. And coming to Israel and moving 6,000 miles away, whether you're single or whether you have a family, it's really hard. It's a new language, it's a new culture. You have to rebuild your identity, you have to find your footing, and you have to find your community. And Nefesh B'Nefesh started 19 years ago with the mandate to change the way people made Aliyah and to make it so good that they stay, and then they become the best Aliyah ambassadors to others. A few years later, Prime Minister of Israel, Ariel Sharon, audited us, visited us, and said, we cannot believe what you're doing. This is incredible. Nobody else is doing what Nefesh B'Nefesh is doing. There is none since then. And till today, any other organization or amuta that is dedicated solely to helping North American immigrants move, find a job, stay in Israel, and thrive. We're an organization of immigrants for immigrants. And so everything that we do goes through the prism of what Israel needs. What are the national needs of Israel? And over our 19 years, we have focused on specific areas of need, and we work in tandem with what the government feels is important. One of them, obviously, is settling the North and the South, the Galilee and the Negev. And for that, we have a Go South and a Go North program. And indeed, we have a presence, and we have Olim, robust Olim, who have come there, who are really making remarkable change. And what have I learned this year? This year, I have seen Zionism on steroids. This year was a tough year. It was a hard year. But what I saw is that we have incredible Zionists all over the world who just want to be part of the story here, whether it's supporting initiatives that we all do here at JNF and Nefesh B'Nefesh, or it's whether they want to actually build their lives in Israel. And since I started with this organization almost 20 years ago, we are seeing a close to 200% increase in the number of people who want to make Aliyah. Israel is expecting between 250,000 Olim to 300,000 Olim in the next 3 to 5 years. And that's why I feel my role at Nefesh B'Nefesh in helping Olim to come here, to adjust, to thrive, in making Israel so friendly for American Olim, making it a place where people can thrive, is such an important mission, especially at this time. So I really want to thank all of our friends and our partners that help us build Israel together. It's critically important.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear that, and it's clear that the organization gives tremendous support, like through every step, and try to make it just an easier transition. And the stats that you shared, I mean, are incredible. And I think, as someone here in the diaspora, I mean, now more than ever, we need to support Israel. We need to, support JNF USA in terms of all the programs that the organization's supporting, like all three of your organizations. So I want to ask all three of you, or any of you can jump in, what are some of the program needs that sort of like come to your mind first? And what can we do here stateside to help?
Over 5 years, we've been running the JNF Western Galilee Tourist Information Center in Old Akko. And the information center is, of course, the main reason is for it to being in Akko is Akko enjoys a great amount of tourists in regular times. And usually people come to Akko and then they go back to Tel Aviv or to the Sea of Galilee. And the idea of JNF was to have a beautiful building open 7 days a week that will give the people the information about everything else they can do in the Western Galilee on their way to the Kinneret, just before they go back to Tel Aviv. And hopefully, maybe next visit, they will stay a night or two. The past 3 years, this wonderful building has become also a gallery for Galilean artists and exposes and show the amazing art that we have all over for people coming to Akko that can see it. And it's also our offices of Western Galilee. Now from there, we operate the whole system of the tourism all over the Western Galilee. And unfortunately, on the May 12th, just between May 11th and 12th, the Tourist Information Center has been destroyed and the riots in Akko completely. And 2 nights after it was vandalized, it was also lit. Thank God for actually other Arab neighbors that put off the fire. So we've been going through a roller coaster, and I have to tell you that if I learned something over the past year through COVID and through now what I've been going through is choose right your affiliate. JNF has been standing with us so strong all through COVID. And now I can tell you I was heartbroken and all my dreams shattered, and I didn't sleep the first night all this happened. And my husband found me in the morning like that because I knew what was happening in Akko and we couldn't go. And And the first thing I said, what will JNF think and say? And Shachar said, JNF always stood there behind you. You had a year of COVID where tourism stopped completely. Do they really have to prove themselves again? And I said, yes. And JNF has been amazing. And now we have to rebuild this whole destruction. It's a wonderful opportunity also to thank Tamar, because us, we're 8 people and we have no place to go in the morning, and we have to really work hard more than ever. And Tamar has accepted us into the Lauda Center in Akko. So it's just outside the old city. So since yesterday, we've been working there on a daily basis. And thank you, Tamar.
It's not me. It's all of
of us. Yeah,
ours.
but this is first of all to show how strong this affiliation and the partners and all of us together. And I think that's what makes us all very strong. And if I ever believed in JNF, really this year, I hope it's only going to get better. But if you're talking about needs, I'm sorry I jumped in, but help us rebuild. We want to rebuild the destroyed center. We want to rebuild the gallery. We want to have artists again there. We really want to show people that the friendships and the relationships are stronger. And like I've been told in many of my friends at JNF, we will build stronger and bigger. And so thank you for that. That's my wish for this upcoming month.
No, Michal, I'm so glad that you're talking about this, because it's great to talk about the amazing, incredible programs, but we'd be remiss to not talk about what is going on today and what the needs are. We can't think every need is taken care of, and yet as incredible as JNF USA is, and as strong as the partnerships are with all the affiliates, there's still so much work and there's so much need that has to happen, especially as a result of everything that happened. And it sounds like the center that you're mentioning, the visual center, it's not just about rebuilding brick and mortar, right? Like this is sort of like the heartbeat, right? It's symbolic as to what it means and what it represents to everyone who visits, to everyone who lives in the community. So it's important that that gets built back, better and stronger, and God willing, we will. Tamar, so Tamar, how about you? Your wish list, where is the need? What can we do?
We want to focus with the engineering program on getting more women engineering internships, because we see how much this has helped the other women in our program. This year, we were able to get to a record high of 40% participants who are women. Next year, we want to get 50% women engineers in this program. And our second focus this year is going to be, as I said before, we have the new SBA, the Small Business Association by JNF. And we really just 4 weeks ago started offering small business owners in the Negev and the Galilee the services to help sell more online, to help reduce the shipping costs. Right now, we have over 80 small businesses who wanted to join the SBA. Within 4 weeks, they already came to us, and over 50% of them are women. And so we want to focus specifically on women business owners in the Galilee and women business owners in the Negev in order to subsidize more of the cost of the professionals, to help them build websites, to help them manage social media, to help them increase sales, to help them reduce shipping costs. We just want to make it as easy as possible for them to gain more, sell more, succeed more in their business, because we know that they will then go on and hire other women in their businesses. And this is really just this ripple effect that we can create. And we would really appreciate to help give all of these women not the fish, but really allowing them to fish more efficiently and better.
Dorit, aside from another 100 employees at Nefesh B'Nefesh to absorb, hopefully a ton new Alim, what do you need?
So I think I agree. It's been a heck of a year with Corona, with tremendous surging anti-Semitism around the world, which is really making it uncomfortable for Jews everywhere to feel comfortable in their communities, and certainly in Europe. We are seeing huge numbers of people turning to us for Aliyah. Those who feel they have to escape and they cannot come back, and those who are still choosing to come to Israel because they want a different future for their children. And I don't know if you've heard, but we're possibly on the eve of a fifth election. And what does that mean in this country? It means that we don't really have budgets, that there hasn't been a government budget that's passed. And with a surge of over 200% new Olim, and we need to make Israel this place that can accept everybody. But with a government here that's still recovering from Corona, I mean, I don't even know if we're even starting to address it, with internal political issues, there just is not going to be funding. And I think maybe what we need to turn to everyone is to zoom out for a second and say, okay, we're not going to talk about crisis, because Aliyah is the good news here. This is the best news that's happened to 2020 and 2021, is that more Jews want to come home and want to strengthen and build the land of Israel. And look, we can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. We do a really good job. Our retention rate is great. We help people build businesses, become entrepreneurs, who then afterwards become buddies and bring other people in and employ other people. And we bring doctors, and we know the field of influence of all the medical professionals that are coming here to heal. So every individual that comes to Israel is a return on investment with ongoing returns. So I think at a time like this, whether it's you want to support a lone soldier, a man or a woman, whether you want to help our new program, our fledgling program, Ori, with women from around the world, help the underserved, whether you want to support our efforts to bring pioneers to the north or the south, or whether you want to help young entrepreneurs and young people connect and come together in Tel Aviv to build community and connect. We can come together around a Shabbat table. We can do events. People are now coming, and especially after Corona, they just want to build community. And that's our role at Nefesh B'Nefesh.
Thank you. I mean this very, very deeply and sincerely for your time today, your wisdom, sharing your stories, talking about the amazing work that you're doing. It's incredible. And I really know that everyone watching today, or anyone who's going to be watching the replay in the future, has enjoyed everything that you've shared, and bringing all this to us, and all the good work you're doing on the ground on behalf of the land and people of Israel. And on behalf of the JNF USA South Florida community, we extend again a heartfelt thank you. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. And we wish you and your families well, and continue to do amazing work as strong Jewish women in the land of Israel.
We would like to now recognize Dr. Linda Kaplan of Hallandale Beach, Florida. Dr. Kaplan is a #1 rated eye doctor and aesthetic specialist in South Florida, leading the field in aesthetics, eye and eyelid health, and vision correction. She's also a member of Jewish National Fund's Century Council, King Solomon Society, and Doctors for Israel. We thank her for being one of our most significant donor investor partners in South Florida and supporting our work in Israel. Today, we recognize her for the work she has done supporting the local community during the pandemic, from sourcing PPE to volunteering her time on vaccination drives. Let's take a moment and hear from her.
Thank you to my Jewish National Fund family for including me in today's program and for the work they do in our homeland. I first experienced Israel age 15 through a 10-week United Synagogue Youth Tour. We stayed and worked at so many amazing places, meeting so many wonderful and different peoples. I was introduced to new terrain and tastes and smells and foods and sounds. It was an eye-opener that has led to a lifelong love affair with Israel. I'm so proud of JNF for the wonderful projects it has brought to Israel and the engagement, camaraderie, and fellowship it offers Jews here in Greater Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
I just want to say that it's important to support by buying Israeli products, supporting our brothers and sisters and our family, in Israel, because it's wonderful for you to to have the resources and support, but we have to support with our dollars, quite frankly. And say if I'm going to buy a gift or I'm going to do something, whether you're in Israel or not, to say I'm really going to think about Israeli business owners and how I can support. That's important for many reasons, which is beyond the scope of our talk today and our time together. And briefly on that, I know it's a small piece of a larger conversation, but JNF has this wonderful marketplace online where we do feature Israeli businesses and business owners, where you can go online and you can look at some different products and support. It's a handful of Israeli products and goods, but I encourage everyone to check out some of the great stuff we have there, and hopefully we can build it out and make it more robust, in addition to shopping online and, very importantly, coming to Israel and visiting and supporting. And brief note that at the beginning of our program, we talked about JNF's national conference, which is October 10th through the 14th, which is incredible in Israel. I completed my registration a couple of days ago, and I will be coming home to visit and supporting. And I'm looking forward to seeing and visiting your regions in a way maybe that I haven't before in previous trips, and seeing your incredible communities and what you're doing.
Jewish National Fund USA is on the ground year-round, providing services and infrastructure to communities across Israel. And our work was highlighted even more while our communities were under attack by thousands of rockets. During the 11-day conflict, through our partnership with the Israeli Fire and Rescue Authority, our firefighters had the very best rapid response equipment to fight blazes lit by terror balloons from Gaza. Our fortified indoor playgrounds and above-ground bomb shelters were there, allowing children to play in safety and security. We granted $250,000 from our endowment to help immediately evacuate 1,000 families from Eshkol and Shahar HaNegev because there were not enough bomb shelters. Pastor Jensen Franklin of Free Chapel Church of Georgia donated $2 million for a fortified playground in Eshkol and for new bomb shelters. He is providing a $100,000 match for anyone donating for additional bomb shelters. Now, our resilience centers are helping hundreds of Israelis deal with PTSD. Since the acquisition of the Alexander Muss High School in Israel in 2013, we are now the largest U.S.-based provider of Zionist education and advocacy. Our programs are needed now more than ever for Jews and non-Jews to fight anti-Semitism and the BDS movement right here at home. Fuel for Truth is a boot camp teaching Jews and non-Jews about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Caravan for Democracy and Faculty Fellowship are subsidized trips for non-Jewish college campus leaders and professors to visit Israel, experience Israel and all of its ethnic groups, and return lifelong ambassadors for Israel. I ask you, women in the audience, to join Women for Israel for a minimum annual gift of $360. Gentlemen in the audience, thanks for joining us today. Please do support as well for an amount that's meaningful to you. You will all receive text messages and emails to donate. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the program.
We are going to continue with a fantastic community panel. Again, you're in for a real treat. My friend Maya is going to moderate, and we hope you enjoy what's to come.
I am pleased to introduce today's community panel. Maxim Tuchman is an alumni of the Alexander Muss High School in Israel, JNF, and CEO, co-founder of Caribou, an interactive video calling platform that allows parents and grandparents to read and draw with children when they're not in the same location. Caribou made Fast Company's list of world-changing ideas for 2019, was named one of the top 10 edtech companies to watch in Forbes, and became one of the most innovative startups in the world by winning the 1776 Global Challenge Cup. Max has been the winner of or finalist in 30-plus pitch competitions, is the 59th Latina in the U.S. to raise over $1 million in venture funding, the first Latina to raise $1 million in equity crowdfunding, and was named as one of Inc. magazine's top 100 female founders for 2019. She has worked in almost every level of education, from being a public school teacher, a consultant at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, executive director of Teach for America, and manager of education projects under New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg and DC Public Schools Chancellor Michelle Rhee. Before co-founding Caribou, Max was appointed by President Obama to serve as a White House Fellow at the U.S. Department of Treasury. She is a first-generation Cuban-American and college student and a graduate of the Cora Fellowship in Public Affairs and the Miami Fellows Leadership Program. Max is a 2018 Toyota Mother of Invention and received her MBA and MPP from Harvard. Maytal Stavinsky, a Miami and Washington, D.C. attorney, is a member of Holland & Knight's Public Policy and Regulation Group and co-chair of the firm's Israel practice. She focuses her practice on business and government relations with a particular emphasis on Israeli emerging and advanced technology companies. Ms. Stavinsky assists Israeli companies seeking to enter the U.S. market and expand their operations in the United States. In her work with innovative companies, Ms. Stavinsky advises advanced technology companies that provide a beneficial social or environmental impact on a wide range of U.S. congressional and federal legislative matters. She provides strategic and policy advice, helping her clients impact key U.S. legislations. Maytal has worked on a wide range of U.S. congressional and federal legislative matters and has experience with various federal agencies, such as the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Department of Transportation, the U.S. Department of Energy, and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Melanie Schnall-Begun is head of philanthropy management and president of Morgan Stanley Gift, which she launched in 2000. For over 20 years, she has worked with many of the firm's wealthiest and most influential clients to marry their philanthropic interests with their financial goals. Under her leadership, MS Gift has raised approximately $6 billion since inception, granted over $3 billion, and created innovative funding models such as MS Gift Cures, a philanthropic accelerating rare disease treatment and cure development. In 2012, she launched Foundation Management Services, a philanthropic advisory and administrative services platform for corporate and private foundations. She's also responsible for the firm's nonprofit and endowment consulting services. Melanie's board services include Quinnipiac Law, Dean's Advisory Board, Metropolitan College of New York, the Davos Alzheimer's Consortium, and Inwood Charities. Thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to start by asking each of you to share your personal journeys with us.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me. I'm a Jewish Latina. I'm a Jubin, as we say in Miami, who is the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors and also survivors of the Bolshevik Revolution that all fled to Cuba and then, of course, to Miami and Puerto Rico. And I've been very blessed to grow up with a family that always put education first. I'm the first one in my family to graduate from college, and for my family, that was something that was the American dream, right? Let's get to freedom. Let's get the kids over to the United States so that we don't have to face persecution and that they can achieve all the things that we never got the opportunity to achieve. It's been kind of my I feel a very personal responsibility. It's my mission in life to make it up to and to pay back those generations that made so many sacrifices for me. And that's why I get very involved in my community. And I'm a big supporter of women and people of color who are trying to raise money like me in a startup or just try and make the world a better place through technology, like I'm trying to do every day with Caribou.
Max, thank you. That's so inspiring. Melanie, tell us about your personal journey.
Well, thank you for such a great question. It's always wonderful, but uncomfortable to talk about yourself. My journey started as an attorney. I entered this space thinking that tax law was going to be the way for me to really help people create wealth. And as I was working in that particular sector, I realized just 4.5 years into my career that my true calling was around wealth management and philanthropy. I left the area of law. I walked into financial services. And as an estate tax attorney, I started working with some incredible clients who really wanted to use their wealth to do tremendous good. That shortly led me to co-found what today is called philanthropy management. And that particular space, the area of philanthropy, was an opportunity for me to really connect with incredible people who are doing incredible things. Over the last several years, we've grown the practice. We're global in nature. We serve clients all over the world and work on issues and sectors that our clients really speak to and give to. Part of the reason that's so exciting is as I see their wealth build, we see the opportunity for them to truly expand the areas of focus that they're giving to. So one amazing example of that is last year. Last year was philanthropy's moment of truth. I think in my entire career in this sector, 23 years, I've never witnessed an opportunity for clients to truly come together to convene and think about their opportunity to not only give in their own silos, but give collectively. So my journey from law to wealth management, ultimately focusing on philanthropy, really lets me every single day to see the value of capital being used for good.
Thank you, Melanie. That's so inspiring. What a great way to combine your skills as a lawyer with Tikkun Olam. Thank you. And Meital, tell us about your personal journey.
Thank you so much, Maya. And Melanie is a very difficult act to follow. So inspiring. So I was born and raised in Israel. I arrived in Miami for what was supposed to be a short few years adventure. 18 years later, here I am. There is a famous saying in Yiddish, and I hope I'm not going to ruin it, men tracht und Gott lacht, which means men plans and God laughs, and I'm the living truth of this. However, I did discover here in Miami family from my Cuban side of my family and friends who became like family. I love the energy and diversity of Miami and the fact that no one really cares if I have an accent here. And despite the distance, I decided to do my utmost to keep in close contact with Israel, family and friends there, and been leading a career that, thank God, brings me to Israel often and allows me to work on a daily basis with incredibly innovative Israeli tech companies, including in the agriculture space, making this world a better, safer, and healthier one with abundance of food and water. I'm proud to represent clients who quickly made an effort to help overcome and protect against COVID, such as a client that has taken an active role in helping equip hospitals here in the US as well as in Israel and across the world with face shields, swabs, and ventilator parts printed by their innovative 3D printers.
Meital, thank you. How wonderful that you get to do Tikkun Olam through your work also. Max, tell us about your organization, your role in your organization, and lessons that you have learned over the past year.
So with Caribou, so I'm the CEO and co-founder of Caribou. So my co-founder and I created this company together. And last year was a very difficult year for everybody in so many different ways. We found that families wanted to, their number one priority was to stay safe, but their number two priority was to stay sane. And thankfully, Caribou was able to keep families feeling sane, especially with little kids. If you had a 0 to 12-year-old in your life, whether that was a child or a grandchild, Caribou was really the only place you could turn to have interactive, engaging, and entertaining and educational video calls with those children. If you were separated by distance, you couldn't be there in person to kind of play with them in person. We've really created a virtual play date that families can use to read and draw and play games together, no matter how far apart they are. And, again, it was a very difficult year, but for Caribou, we actually 10x the company last March because of the fact that, families really needed a better video call experience for the little ones in their life.
Meital, let's go back to you. Tell me about your firm, your role in the firm, and lessons that you have learned over the past year.
Thank you, Maya. So I co-chair the Israel practice at one of the top law firms in the US, Holland & Knight, a firm with 27 offices, mostly in the US and Latin America, and about 1,400 lawyers and other professionals. We have a very strong corporate real estate litigation practice, as well as one of the top federal lobbying practices in the US, which I'm part of that practice. And my practice is really focused on assisting Israeli companies as they enter and expand operations in the US or in Latin America. And while this has been a challenging year, like other professionals, we learned that we can be effective and productive even in a remote environment. We learned once again about humans' ability to be resilient and persevere, of being compassionate and taking care of others. And JNF is such a phenomenal example of an organization built on the importance of solidarity, ערבות הדדית. I recall at the onset of the pandemic, I participated in a virtual meeting of the firm's Women Initiative, organized about the secret of happiness. And something the presenter said resided with me: being grateful, count your blessings, and say what you're thankful for at least once a week, and engage in acts of kindness for your community. So we all know the importance of that. However, it was really interesting to me the reasoning she gave to it. She said that when you focus on helping others, you take your mind off your own challenges, and that creates a ripple effect of positivity.
Mital, beautiful words. I could not agree with you more. And Melanie, tell us about your organization, your role, and lessons that you have learned over the past year.
Sure. Thank you so much for this question. I work for a very large financial services company called Morgan Stanley. They're leaders in the wealth management business, but also, of course, investment banking, private wealth management, and institutional consulting. And my team is centered within what is the family office. So we work with the family offices across the country and around the world, as well as philanthropists, both individuals, foundations, charitable trusts, and also donor advised fund account holders. The work that my team does is rooted in helping clients think about three pools of capital. The first, of course, is their philanthropic capital, the opportunity for them to make grants into the world and ensure that those sectors are thriving and growing. The second is their financial capital. And as a bank, our goal is to help our clients grow their wealth through investment management. When you think about philanthropy, the opportunity to align philanthropy and investing will lead to the bottom double or perhaps even triple line growth of those assets. So as clients think about even their charitable trusts or their foundations, the opportunity to invest those assets in the sectors where they're giving ensures that more money is going to those spaces. The third capital system that we work with is probably the most important one. It's human capital. And this work is rooted in helping clients really think about how they want to volunteer, the boards that they're sitting on, the service that they offer in their communities and around the world. We work with clients, not only the older clients, the senior generations of wealth holders, but the truly exciting work is working with the next generation of clients. Those children, both young adults and even preschoolers who are just thinking about what it means to give back, what it means to do a mitzvah, what it means to incorporate in their school and in their daily life an opportunity to really support friends and community. So those three capital systems are what I built my practice on. And every day we see that capital flowing towards sectors is truly making dramatic impact in the world.
Thank you, Melanie. And what lessons have you learned over the past year?
I think the most important lesson is that we have to have patience and tolerance. As we've been working from home, and myself still working from home today, and my children being schooled at home, we have to have patience with ourselves and with the opportunity for what we want to see happen. Trust and patience in our philanthropy is probably one of the most important lessons that we're guiding our clients on. Patience to ensure that our money will make a difference, even if it's slow to act. And how can we be both resilient and patient at the same time? How can we ensure that our patience, the ability to know that a cure will come and that our philanthropy could help advance that cure, ensuring not only that a vaccine would be developed, but that the vaccine would be available to all people everywhere, irrespective of their opportunity to purchase it. So patience to put our faith and trust that our money and our time will make a difference in the work.
Melanie, you mentioned human capital. So I want to talk about humans and specifically women. How have you empowered women in your field and in your practice?
Well, being a woman, I think that I've been put onto this earth to think about how our gender can make a dramatic difference. So I do it in a daily basis. Mentoring is probably the most important part of my ability to help ensure that women get access to new opportunities and break through what might have been called the glass ceiling, certainly in corporate America. I have an active mentorship program that I personally do every single day. Over my career, I've taken on some tremendous professionals, and I think the results are seeing what they're doing today in business and in community. So mentoring is the first place that I start. The second is sponsoring. It's wonderful to mentor women, but it's really important to sponsor them. Sponsoring them so that they get to that next job, sponsoring so that they take on opportunities that they never even thought they were possible to take on. Sponsoring them so that they think that a job that they're not prepared for, that they don't have the background in, that they really can achieve to own. So mentoring and sponsoring are the two ways that I've really worked with women. In my community, I'm also a part of what's called the Makers. That was a select group of entrepreneurs and women in business who are identified at my firm to become a part of this global women's community to move not only themselves forward, but move other women forward. So I'm very proud to be named a Maker back in 2017. I also look every day at women-owned businesses. I not only invest in women who are leading businesses, but it's part of our practice, looking at companies led by women where their boards are predominantly women and catering to a women marketplace. So those three areas, both mentoring, sponsoring, and investing in women, is something that I do every day.
Melanie, and thank you for all you do. I agree with you. We women need to pull other women up. So thank you for all you do. Maytal, tell us about how you have empowered other women in your practice, in your firm, and your career.
Thank you so much, Maya, and I loved hearing Melanie's comments. So what I've been doing, I'll give just a few examples. Because of my work with tech companies, a few years ago, I co-founded a group called Women in Agri-Food Tech in Israel, along with amazing women leaders with key partners such as Startup Nation Central, GrowIL, the Kitchen Food Tech Hub, and Treadlines. And up until the pandemic, we held a number of networking meetings each year where we both provided tools and opportunities to expand network for women entrepreneurs and students. And it was very rewarding and inspiring to see the caliber of speakers, people that, both women and men, that were so eager to engage and help and speak with the group. And a Florida connection during the visit of the Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Nikki Fried, in Israel a couple of years ago. She joined a roundtable discussion that we held with a group, and she shared about opportunities in Florida and her personal journey. And this is the type of meetings we've held for the group, and hopefully soon we can renew what we've been doing, but it's been very rewarding. Here in Florida, I'm a member of the Florida Agri Women. It's the Florida chapter of the American Agri Women, the nation's largest coalition of farm, ranch, and agribusiness women. I serve as the organization legislative director pro bono, as well as on behalf of the organization on Commissioners Fried Ag Innovation Work Group. So I try to get involved in as many organizations as possible that bridge innovation, women in innovation. And I agree with Melanie that it's so important to empower women and raise the access to capital for women entrepreneurs and encourage them. So that's what I've been doing.
Maytal, thank you for all you do to empower other women. Let's go to Max now. Max, same question. How have you empowered other women in your organization and in your field?
Yeah, so I call it the Harriet Tubman. For me, I seek power so that I can redistribute it. I constantly am trying to get myself at the table, or I'm trying to win some award, or trying to get involved in some organization so that I can always bring another woman with me, or someone from one of my communities, whether that be the Jewish community or the Latino community. For me, that's extremely important. I also, I mentor a lot of other female women and people of color founders. But the other thing that I think is really important is, if I'm ever on a panel, if I'm ever asked to speak at a conference, I always make sure that there's, either another woman or a woman of color. And if there isn't, I feel very responsible that I, either bring that person, or if it's all white presenting women, I try and make sure that there is a woman of color who's not white presenting, who's also at the table. So either taking my place on that panel or coming along with me for that panel.
Let's talk about connections to Israel. Meital, you mentioned you're from Israel. So tell us a little bit more about your connection with Israel, besides being born in Israel.
Yeah, so by the way, I grew up in Herzliya, which I know, Maya, you're very familiar with. It's a beautiful city by the beach north of Tel Aviv. Reminds me a lot of Miami. And I'm a Tel Aviv University law alumna. And as I mentioned, thank God I get to go back to Israel several times a year, keeping very, very close contact, both personally and professionally. And I believe that as Israeli, I believe all of us Israelis, which, the wandering Jews were all over. So I believe Israelis living abroad for whatever length of time should really, and I think Jews generally should regard themselves as mini ambassadors of goodwill for Israel, and contribute their share in Asbara efforts, PR for Israel. There is so much disinformation and so many important facts that should be shared. And I think this is why getting involved in pro-Israel organizations such as JNF is so important. And Maya, you were talking about Tikkun Olam, and this is really, my motivation first and foremost comes from my family and my friends. And this notion of Tikkun Olam, the pursuit of repairing the world as a responsibility of each and every individual across the board, no matter what your religion is, I really believe in it, and I strive to contribute my share.
Meital, thank you. I got a little emotional with your answer. I know it's from the heart, so thank you. Melanie, tell us about your connection to Israel.
Well, I have to say I'm so jealous of Meital's and Maya's connections, because I think I'm one person who lives a life of Jewish values and has not been to Israel. So my story was that for my bat mitzvah, my grandmother, who passed away many years ago, one of the gifts that she was going to be giving to me and to my twin sister was going with her to Israel. Unfortunately, we never made that trip. And throughout the years between education and work, I haven't had an opportunity to go. One of my goals, which was for last year during COVID, was to join Momentum, which is a beautiful nonprofit organization taking women who've never been to Israel, and in the collaborative, really enjoying both the country, learning about the culture, and then experiencing Israel through an adult's eyes, not through a child's eyes, and then bringing that experience back, again, going back to your original question about how to empower women, taking that concept back to other women, encouraging them for their journey to Israel. Because of COVID, I wasn't able to make that trip last year, but I have full intentions of making it as soon as it's safe to travel again to Israel. I will share that the values that are held inside of my heart are also shown in my work. So my work today has led me to be able to create programming to help support other people who not only want to go to Israel, but want to invest in Israel. And that work is through our Jewish Values Investing in Giving program. And the communities that we're creating, the stories that they're sharing with me, clients who've had experiences that really live with them and that they bring to their children, inspires me every day to continue this work. So thank you for such a beautiful question. And I hope Bashana Haba'a B'Yerushalayim.
Thank you, Melanie. And with JNF, we do have women's trips to Israel. It's called the Queen of Sheba Tours. And I'm looking forward to hopefully going this year or next year whenever tourism opens up in Israel. And I would love to have you ladies join me. We can all go to Israel together with JNFs, or something to consider for the future. Max, I know that you're an alum of the Alexander Must High School in Israel, which was acquired by Jewish National Fund USA a couple of years ago. Tell us how you continue your connection to Israel.
Yeah, I am a super, super proud, again, Jubin. I've always, kind of embraced both sides of my identity. I think growing up in Miami, you can do that. You can go to Jewish day school, but also secretly eat ham at home, with your Cuban side of the family. And I think that it's, for me, I've always been so proud to be part of the Jewish community because of the values that we live by. I remember in Jewish day school learning that on Shabbat, even the animals can't work, right? And to me, that was just such a wonderful culture to be part of, that when we said that everyone rested, right? We really meant it. And we really understood how that affected the entire community. You can't get someone else to press the button in the elevator. It was just so thoughtful. And I've always loved that about our community. I think also the idea of tzedakah, just the idea of always making sure that you're giving back, that the Jews have always pulled the Harriet Tubman, right? How do we continue to make sure that everyone has the same access that we do, or that, others who don't have equitable access, that we help them get there. And I was very lucky. I got to do high school in Israel in Chodesh Haron back in the 90s. I won't try to date myself too much. And then I was also part of another program in Israel that, again, made me feel very, very connected to the state and to the people, and again, to my Jewish heritage.
Our last question: what advice do you have for women watching today? And Maytal, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Maya, and I love your idea, so we're going. So my advice is do good and you will do well. I really believe in that. And if there is a cause you feel passionate about, or a position you wish to have that doesn't exist, don't wait for it to become available or compromise for something else. Carve it out yourself.
Thank you, Maytal. And Melanie, tell us, what advice do you have for women watching us today?
Yeah, so I have to give you two pieces, because I think it's so important for women to realize that they have such incredible potential. My first is to live a life of committed action. And that's something that I do. It's my personal statement, my public declaration that I live every day a life of committed action. That's both in the work that I do with nonprofit organizations. I'm sitting on the board of a college that's predominantly dedicated for women who didn't have an opportunity to go to college and now want to advance their career. It's by living the work that I do in healthcare and sitting on the boards of nonprofit organizations that are working in the space in the sector of diabetes. And so much research is being done in Israel to advance type 1 diabetes and finding a cure for that disease. It's by living a life of committed action, by helping my children get into philanthropy every day, thinking that even though my boys are just young teenagers, that they have an opportunity with their savings that we've given them, with their earnings that they make through the work that they do around the house, and also through the investments that my husband and I are helping them start really early in life, that they have a responsibility and a commitment to give to their communities. So my first piece of advice is live a life of committed action. My second is that live a life of balance. We all think as women that there's the opportunity to make choice, but the reality is it's balance. I don't choose one thing over another. I choose to have balance. I choose to spend as much time as I can with my family as I am with work. I choose to spend as much time on my athletics as I do with my volunteering. So really think about how to have balance in your life, because the more balanced you are in everything that you do, the happier you'll be. So those are my 2 pieces of advice.
Thank you, Melanie. Wonderful pieces of advice. And Max, let's go to you now. What advice do you have for the women who are watching us today?
I think, for anyone who's watching today, I always encourage people to, again, recognize the privilege that we have. If you are based in the United States, we are going through a very different healthcare pandemic than many other countries. So really looking around the world and seeing where you can be helpful, and making sure that the whole world really comes out of this pandemic in the best way possible, not just those with privilege. I would also say, especially for any child who's, between 0 and 12, the kind of group that Caribou really cares about. This has been a very difficult year for them when it comes to learning, and when it comes to social emotional learning and being with their peers. So, really reach out to anyone who has a child who's 0 to 12, to any, kind of 0 to 12-year-olds in your life, and make sure that they're being supported and given every opportunity that they can to continue to succeed.
Thank you all for such inspiring words today, and for all you do to lift other women up and empower women. Thank you all for watching. On behalf of the South Florida region, we hope you enjoyed our National Women for Israel event, Jewish Women Who Mean Business. All of our panelists were so inspiring. We look forward to seeing you in Israel at our national conference in October. To find out more about our upcoming events, please visit jnf.org/on-demand. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Israel Chai.
צאת ישראל ממצרים, בת יעקב מעם לועז, הייתה יהודה לקודשו, ישראל ממשיך